Hello everyone, sorry about that. We are back live. Huge connection issues and my game crashed. We will be starting in less than a minute here. We've had that bug before in this race. I don't know why this game does it. It's strange. Anyway, our grid is set. We are back up streaming, I believe. I hope. Yes, we are. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. Take two. There we go. Alright, our cars are lined up on the grid for 32 laps of Monza, 180 kilometers for the International Sim Racing Series. Our cars are going to roll off the line. Andrea leading the way in his Lexus. International Sim Racing Series goes live at Monza in 3, 2, 1. Here we go, racing down towards turn one of the first chicane. Andrea leading the way. They're all going to file in single file down the straight, past the pit lane, down into the braking zone for turn one. That's going to dive down the inside, late on the brakes on Alden Petrama. He's going to take P2 immediately into the first chicane. Everyone else, we see Adam Bernardi with a mistake coming out of the chicane. Fires Romans are going to take P6. As we see Crashman getting ahead of the Frenchman Gabachoy to take P11 out of the start. They're going to come down to the second chicane. Everyone looks to be a little bit clean. A little bit of a slide from Deltone. Keeps the position though. Very clean first lap so far. Brilliant start to the race from Deltone as well, getting up in position already, coming with a move late on the brakes into the first chicane. Let's see if he's going to have a run into Ascari on Andrea. He's going to be looking up the inside. They're coming alongside. Is going to be late enough on the brakes. Andrea is later. Cuts him off. Deltone's going to stick ahead of Alden as well. Alden's going to have another, or excuse me, Deltone's going to have another look this time around the outside, heading towards Parabolica. Les is going to be trying to get his way past Alden Petrama as well. It looks to have the move done. Petrama's still going to have the inside for Parabolica. Deltone trying to get the switchback going on Andrea out of the final corner. It looks like he's going to have it, but Andrea's probably going to have a little bit more speed out of the final corner, crossing the line. Top five all vying for the lead of the race right now. They head down towards turn one. We're going to go 3 wide down towards the first chicane. Almost 4 if Alden can sneak in. The track is not quite wide enough. Andrea's going to stay ahead for the time being. He almost spins out. The two Italians come together. That's going to allow Petrama to get past Deltone as well with a little bit of a scruffle between the two old teammates. Andrea going to use that opportunity to break away a little bit, forge that gap to about 3.5 tenths. You see the top 3 still fighting for the final steps on the podium. Deltone now going to be under pressure from behind as well. As you see, Fires Rooms are already with the half-second time penalty going to start this lap. Deltone with a great view of Andrea and Alden going at it. Down towards Ascari. Alden's going to manage to get past Andrea. Andrea just moving backwards right now. It is still a long race. We see Fabio already with an enormous 1 second gap. Fabio comes back to the series and immediately shows everyone why he's a 3-time back-to-back-to-back champion. As we see Andrea and Deltone going back at it with G now joining the fight to get on the podium. You see a little bit back, we have Franz Romero going at it. Side by side, the two Porsches down the pit straight. Franz is going to have the inside coming down towards the braking zone. Is he going to be late on the brakes enough? No. Decides to back out of it. Still a little bit side by side. He's going to have a big twitch. As we see Bernardi going a little bit off into the gravel. Franz are going to have the run through Curva Grande. Going to pull out of the slipstream. Going to try and make his car just as big as possible in the mirrors. Still not quite close enough. He's going to be super late on the brakes. Almost coming in contact. Going in super deep into the second chicane. You see Rust all over the back of him now. Snake Plissken also joining in this fight. Top 10 all within about 7 seconds of each other. G leading this 3-car train for P4 as well. Setting the fastest Sector 2 time out of the 3 laps so far. Fabio with a 151.797 as the fastest lap of the race. Z Deltone now under pressure from Bernardi. Deltone not going defensive quite yet. So we see Bernardi go a little bit deep into turn 11. Bernardi with an incredible run using the slip drain down towards the first braking zone. Not going to be quite close enough. And with Deltone taking a defensive line, we see a little bit of a slide from Andreo. Or excuse me, Pratama. Andreo getting a little bit squirrely out of the exit of the second chicane, dipping his rear left into the gravel. Easy to get stuck in gravel around Monza, as it's basically everywhere around the track. Gravel and grass, not a whole lot of runoff, except for turn 1 and the exit of Ascari. You see Ferrari kind of sitting by himself, currently in the second chicane. See Deltone kind of escaping from Adam just a little bit. He's not going to have a run on G, but he's going to get that half-second time penalty for track limits. G is going to try and stick it around the outside. Not quite going to work. Deltone's going to take the position on track for right now, but he's going to have to serve that penalty in about a lap's time. Three-way fight still raging on for P4. So you see G kind of pushing Deltone along towards the first braking zone. He's going to cut to the inside. Bernardi making a little bit of contact. He's going to push Deltone a little bit deep into the first chicane. Going to cause G to be able to get ahead. Now Bernardi again going to set his sights on the Porsche. A lot of cars struggling with grip in that traction zone on the exit of the second chicane. See Andrea and Pratama still going at it. Fabio already almost with a 3-second gap, 5 laps into this 32-lap race. And this has been a pretty easy, or not easy, but like laxed first six laps of this race. He's already starting to settle down. Even with these close-knit fights going around, nothing really doing. So you see Deltona served the penalty back down now into P6 is the Italian. It's not the easiest. It's not the easiest to overtake around this track. It's not the hardest either. It's just hard to keep it. It's just hard to make it stick, as there's a lot of changes of direction in the corners. Because there's 3 standard corners and 3 chicanes. So it's really hard, and the chicanes are not the non-chicane corners besides Parabolica, so the 2 Lesmos are really tight. And it's hard to make it stick around the outside of Curva Grande. Everyone's still basically on the same straight except for the Crashman. Currently going through the first Lesmo. Beautiful shot here. The first chicane as we see Deltona all over the back of Bernardi. Deltona with another half-second penalty. Deltona is just not adhering to these track limits, although Gran Turismo 7 is notorious for being pretty harsh on track limits. See him go really wide out of the second chicane. Antone's going to be clear of any cars behind. He's going to lose out of this position and lose a lot more time to P5. A little bit of a battle brewing between 2 Porsches. We have Snake Plissken trying to stay ahead of Frasrumser. Frasrumser is going to be in the slipstream off that Porsche. Heading down towards Parabolica now. A little bit of contact. It's going to force Snake Plissken off, and he's off into the gravel. Frasrumser is going to slow down enough to allow Snake Plissken to give the position back. He knows that wasn't okay. He's going to avoid the penalty. Now it's going to allow both Resta and Gabachor to get back into the picture. Still a little bit off, almost a second. Excuse me, about a second. See, Frasums are really struggling to keep traction out of the first chicane. Frasums are going really wide, big slide on the exit of Viscari. We'll see. Yeah, he is going to get that penalty. He is going to serve it next lap, though, as he already passed the penalty line. He's going to have a look up the inside into turn 11. You see Gabachari also with that has 7 time penalty for track limits. Frasums are again abusing all the track he possibly can. Not given another time penalty, however, but Snake Plissken is aware that he has the penalty. Everyone can see that banner as long as they're close enough. So Snake Plissken's not going to fight this too hard. He knows as long as he can stay close, he should be able to get past on the exit out of Ascari. But he's going to have a huge slide. It's going to allow Frasrumser to run away. That penalty is probably going to be nullified. And it's going to allow Rasta to have a huge run on him. Going to manage to stay ahead now into the second chicane. However, with Rasta very late on the brakes, going to force Snake Plissken to cut the chicane. He's going to get reset. And I believe the stewards are going to have a word with Rasta about that either after the race. That just means Frasrumser is going to be able to serve that penalty with no issue. We have the penalty line coming up for both Frasrumser and Gabachori. Deltone now by himself after serving those penalties. G's going to be all over the back of that Mercedes of Bernardi. Looking up the inside. Not quite close enough. Sliding through Variante Primero. Excuse me. G managing to get ahead into the second chicane. I hope that is an auto drive that isn't allowed. Hope it's just that his hazards were on momentarily. See Andrea and Pratama still going at it. Race definitely settled down, except for this battle still going on. A lot of late braking and definitely a couple of penalties are probably going to be issued. Not going to name names. But Fabio coming back into the championship for this one-off race and absolutely laying it down. It's up on board with Andrea as he chases down Pratama. Almost making contact into the first Lesmo. G still managing to stay ahead of Bernardi for now. Checking with our race leader, 4.7 seconds ahead of the P2 car. He is comfortable. Fabio almost 5 seconds ahead, taking a nice Wednesday cruise around Italy. Oof. Small slide, nothing crazy. Trying to show off a little bit for the camera. You see, Snake Plissken is caught up to Gabachoy. These two Porsches going to be duking it out. Gabachoy goes really wide on the gravel, and Snake Plissken's off! Snake Plissken off on the exit of the second chicane. Means Merrick's going to be right alongside. I couldn't tell if that was contact or if Snake Plissken just put too much throttle down and burned out the rear tires. But grip is definitely going to be falling away. As you see, Merrick goes really wide out of the exit of the second Lesmo. Yeah, tires are definitely going to be hurting now, whether you're on the softs or the mediums. Softs should have already taken their stop just about now, or the pit window should be coming up. Monza isn't known to be the harshest on tires, but there isn't really a whole lot of camber on any of the turns, so it's going to definitely take a lot of energy to keep the grip up. A lot of scrubbing on the tires, definitely going to wear them down. Expect most cars to be on the mediums, because they're probably going to pit just past half distance, which is in about 4 laps time. And Joe has formed a little bit of a gap to Pratama when there is a mistake or a penalty involved. But now there appears to be no battles as G is also starting to gap Bernardi. So we see our leader first to dive into the pit lane. Fabio is going to elect to get off these softs, put on fresh mediums, probably going to take a full tank of fuel. Hopefully that gets him to the end. That racing fuel going into the Porsche. Didn't quite need a full tank, but he's going to come out P6. And Andrea's going to inherit the race lead for now. If Fabio can have a great outlap in the next couple of laps, he'll definitely get back to a net P1. See Pratama go a little wide through Lesmo 1. Little laggy all over the place. As we come down towards the end of lap 14, we'll see if any of our current leaders are on the softs and if they're going to follow Fabio into the pit lane. And if we know anything about Fabio's pace, he has created a massive undercut on the cars in front of him. We'll see if any elect to dive. Andrea's going to miss out. Pratama's going to stay out. As is G, is Bernardi. Bernardi is going to dive into the pit lane. Neltone's going to stay out. So it stands to reason that the top 4 are currently on mediums. They'll be pitting a couple laps. Probably about anywhere between lap 18 to 21, I'd say. Fabio actually didn't have the greatest of outlaps. I believe he was about 22 seconds off the lead out of the pit lane. So he's lost about a second to the leader. Andrea is known to be very rapid. He actually took the win. I believe. Could be wrong. And again, driver's going to avoid the pit lane this time around. Deltone with yet another half-second time penalty for track limits. The field spread is definitely getting massive as we cycle through our pit stops. Pratama with a little bit of a slide coming out of the first chicane. apologies, you guys, if I'm not talking on that much. Not much to commentate on. Today it's been a pretty, I don't want to say boring race. The opening parts of the race were not that boring, but the race has definitely started to settle down now. We're going to be half distance as soon as Andrea crosses the line. Been a pretty normal race, to be completely honest. Pretty normal Grand Prix race. We're halfway through our Monza 180 for... What is going on there? We're halfway through our Monza 180 for... Oh. Huge lag spike. As I was saying, we are halfway through our Monza 180, round 4 of the International Sim Racing Series 2026 summer season. Next time out, our drivers will venture up to the United Kingdom, where we are going to take on for the first time Brands Hatch Motor Racing Circuit. Mein Gott. Yeah, that has to be Pratama. Anyway, as I was saying, next time out, round 5. And drivers head out to the Brands Hatch circuit for the first time in series history, if I remember correctly. And take on the full circuit, not just the Indy circuit. The full one. And if we all need a reminder of the schedule, we have Brands Hatch next Wednesday. Following that, we have the Styrian 180 at the Red Bull Ring. Then we travel to Spa-Francorchamps. After that, we go to Le Mans, the Circuit de l'Étoile. We have our 3 largest tracks in a row. We go Spa, Le Mans, and then to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, about 5 laps of the Nordschleife. That is our July schedule. Into August, to round out the season, we go to our 3-week American leg. Represent. We go first to New York with Watkins Glen International. And we go down to Georgia for Road Atlanta. And we go across the country to the West Coast to Monterey and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in Northern California. And then we go to finish out the season down to Sao Paulo, Brazil in the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Interlagos. Speaking of long races, 24 Hours of Spa is this weekend. Anyone in chat going to be watching that? Biggest GT3 race in the world. I believe there's going to be like 60-something entries, 60-something GT3 cars running around Spa for 24 hours. We also have the 6 Hours of the Glen for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Great weekend for endurance racing. We also have the Austrian Grand Prix for Formula 1 at the Red Bull Ring. Anyone who was rooting for in the chat who was rooting for Toyota at Le Mans a couple weekends ago, Me personally, I was rooting for the Hertz Cadillacs, or any of the Cadillacs to be completely honest, but it's nice that Toyota gets their first win as a sole manufacturing team. I know they gotten wins before, but now it's the first time away from Gazoo Racing just as Toyota, and they gotten their first hypercar win, overall win. So pretty good stuff. Anyone going to the Spa 24 actually? Because I know a lot of our racers and spectators, people watching, are European. I, of course, as an American, cannot go in person, at least this year. But definitely a bucket list race. I think any of the 24-hour races are a bucket list race. Definitely want to go to Daytona and Le Mans and the Nürburgring. Definitely Spa, of course. See Pratama diving into the pit lane. Oh. Pratama into his pit box, gonna get off those medium tires, put on the fresh set of softs, gonna take fuel to get for the last 13 laps. No, he crossed the line. Last 12, yeah, 13 laps. I don't know what I'm saying. That just means Andrea G and I believe Deltone are going to dive into the pit lane this time around. Fabio already on the back of Deltone. As we see, Farazams are as well in the pit lane. All the medium runners going to get rid of their old rubbers. Old rubber. Forget I said that first part. Does Deltone have the net lead of this race? I'm not quite sure. I don't want to check his tire wear. Give it away on live stream. So we're just going to have to guess. If he's setting a quicker lap time, if he's doing his personal best, I'm going to assume he's gone into the box. I don't remember if he has, though. No, Fabio has. I guess we'll find out. Two Italians, old teammates, now turned opponents, going at it. So we see our leader dive into pit lane on 1% fuel. And P2 as well. We'll see if Deltone has to make his stop. If he does, that means Fabio is gonna be our race leader once again. And he does. Fabio is our race leader. It's probably going to be by a decent margin. Let's see where Andrea comes out. He's gonna get caught up with Pratama once again. I believe the gap is bigger now than when Fabio first pitted. My goodness, this kid's pace is absolutely insane. You see a couple of cars within close proximity of each other. Snake catching back up to Rasta. Remember, I believe about 10-ish laps ago, Rasta braked completely misses braking down to the chicane, forcing Snake off and through the chicane and causing him to reset, causing Snake to lose about 2 positions, allowing Rast to absolutely run away with it. More than definitely, our admin and stewards are gonna have to have a look at that incident after the race. Definitely gonna be a couple of inquiries. As of now, that's probably our biggest news of the race so far. So we see Frasrumser all over the back of Pliskin, flashing the lights, trying to get in his head, trying to force a mistake. Frasrumser is going to be hit with that penalty, though. I don't believe he's going to serve it. Nope. Not going to serve it this lap. Snake probably going to try and defend just to make sure he stays in front the entire time for that, at least for the time being. He's going to go a little wide through Parabolica, though, allowing Frasrumser to get alongside. He's going to get through 4 now. So you see Rasta into the pit lane now on absolutely no fuel. So Snake's going to take that position back. We'll see if the stewards still do something about that incident from earlier. But Snake Plissken has made up for it with his decent pace today. On for one of his best results as of late. Especially if he can keep within close proximity of the car ahead. He wanted to keep Frasrumser behind as long as possible so he can keep within penalties distance. Both a little wide on the exit of the second chicane, brushing some gravel, more gravel onto the track. Not that that corner exit needed anymore. Gap between 7th and 8th about 2 seconds, so I don't believe that penalty is going to do much except shorten it. You see Frasrumser to go really wide on the exit of Ascari, so that penalty might actually do something now. Frasrumser going to take the middle, somewhat defensive line. It's going to allow Snake to get by. He's going to cut to the inside. Trying to defend. He's not going to have the best line through Parabolica, though. Frasrumser going to slingshot around the outside. And Snake Plissken actually has to dive into the pit lane. You see Rasta's the next car. He's coming out of Parabolica right now. Soft tires going on to that Porsche. Fuel in as well. 10 laps to go until we finish this race. Just over half a tank of fuel. There's Rasta right there. But Sama managing to keep G at bay for so long. Small mistake from the BMW, slightly going off into the Rebel Marbles, laid down. Let's see, the gap between Fabio and Andrea has been cut almost in half. Snake Plissken also been hit with a time penalty. Forced to slow down right about now. Across the line, we're going to have about 8 laps to go. Tama taking a defensive line down the pit straight, going to slowly inch back over to the proper racing line. You see that gap between Andrea and Fabio cut down in half again. Of course, with Fabio going for the alternate strategy. He was rapid out of the pit stall, but now that his tires are starting to fade away, as is his advantage. Andrea, of course, probably one of the fastest cars on the full-time grid. Also currently sitting with the fastest lap of the race. Yeah, he's about 2 seconds a lap faster than our current race leader. With that gap getting ever so smaller, we might have a race for the lead towards. We might have a fight for the lead towards the end of this race, folks. You want to stick around as we come to the closing 6 laps of this race. As we see Pratama and G still going at it, they're now closer than ever. Knocking barriers over. G's going to have a look up the inside into the first Lesmo, late on the brakes. He's going to get by. Ooh, big contact through the second Lesmo. And G's off and around. Pratama into the back of G. Completely missing his braking point, forcing G off into the gravel. Stewart's definitely going to have a field day today with a lot of these late braking moves. Well, that's going to be it for this battle as of right now. As it stands, Pratama is going to be sitting on our podium on track. As of officially on the timing page, we'll have to wait for a decision from the stewards on that. Typically comes after the race, probably about a day. If you were just joining us or rejoining, 1.2 seconds is all that separates the gap between first and second as we come to the final 6 laps of this race. Our current race leader is not a full-time driver. However, his pace has shown that he can compete at the top, as he's been leading a majority of this race, but that lead has been cut down from 7 seconds at the end of the pit stop cycle to almost 1. It is now less than 1 second. Of course, Fabio going with that alternate strategy undercut. Starting on the softs, going to the mediums. But now he's been out so long, those mediums are going to start falling off. Just has to hold on for a couple more laps. Easier said than done, though. Andrea, as I've said, one of the fastest cars on the track in that Lexus. currently lapping about a second faster a lap. Gap is half a second as they both break into Parabolica. Here we go, folks, down the pit straight, battle for the lead as we come on to lap 28 of 32 for round 4 of the International Sim Racing Series. Fabio taking the defensive line. Andreo slightly later on the brakes, but Fabio a little bit braver. Andreo almost cuts the chicane. Fabio trying to get that switchback. A little bit squirrely on the exits, not getting on that traction he needs. Fabio's going to go up the inside through Curva Grande. Andreo's going to try and make it stick around the outside. Not quite. He's going to have to tuck in. Wait for this second braking zone. Fabio's going to cut to the defensive line. Squeeze Andreo just a little bit through the braking zone. Both clean exit as we head down towards the Lesmos. Again, not the easiest to overtake around Monza unless you get a good run out of the exit of one of the corners. We start our decently long run down towards Ascari. Remember, we have that slipstream when you're within 0.6 of a second. That's about the margin you need in Gran Turismo 7. Fabio still ahead into the braking zone. Andreo getting a little bit of that dirty air through Ascari. Little bit of a twitch on the exit. Again, everyone's tires again are gonna start falling off, especially even with those softs being somewhat fresh. Only last for a couple of laps. Down into Parabolica once again. This time single file as you were. Andreo just trying to make himself as big as he possibly can in the mirrors of Fabio's Porsche. There'll be alongside down the pit straight once again. Fabio once again going to take a defensive line down towards the first chicane. He's staying ahead just slightly. Who's going to be braver on the brakes for this braking zone? They almost touch. They do make a little bit of contact into the braking zone. Andreo slightly ahead for the first chicane. He's going to have the inside. Again, Fabio's going to try and go for that switchback. Andreo covers it off, but yeah, he has another switch in the traction zone. Fabio's going to try and get along on the outside of Curva Grande. They're side by side. A little bit of contact, bumper to bumper. Andreo's trying to take the defensive line. He's going to cut back to the main line. Fabio's going to go down the inside. He's going to be late enough on the brakes to make the corner. Is clean pass for Fabio into the second chicane down towards the Lesmos again. Andreo's going to be back up the inside. Not quite close enough, though. He's going to tuck back under. Whew. Down through the Lesmos again. What a battle we have right here, folks. Coming out of the second Lesmo once again down towards Ascari. Andreo looks to have a decent enough run. Fabio no doubt going to take another defensive line. It's going to be slowing them down, and maybe Pachama can get into this battle towards the end of it. Andreo's going to cut back to the ideal racing line. Fabio's going to take the center. It's nice and smooth on the brakes. Clean through Ascari. Passing the penalty line, no penalties to serve from either driver. Both clean and racing beautifully. Gonna go side by side down into the braking zone. Andreo's a little late. It's gonna be a little wide through turn 11. Still side by side. We're gonna go once again, folks. 3 laps to go in this Monza race. What a race it is. Less than a thousandth of a second, less than a hundredth of a second is what separated them across the line. Fabio again going to have the inside. Great defensive driver in Fabio. Andreo's going to be later on the brakes. Fabio's going to be cleaner. Cuts off Andreo at the apex, shutting the door, saying, nope, you're not getting by just yet. Fabio going to use absolutely all he can out of his tires, slightly apologizing for that slight bit of contact through the first chicane. Andreo's going to go a little wide into the gravel. Fabio instead is going to stay on the ideal racing line, not having the inside. He's going to go for a switchback, and he has a huge slide out of the second chicane. Andreo's going to be able to forge that gap a little bit more. Andrea going to have a little bit more raw pace thanks to the tires, a little bit more mechanical grip just because of how the Lexus is built. Four tenths is your gap as we run down towards turn 8, 9, 10. Fabio flashing the lights, trying to force Andrea into a mistake just like Fabio made. Down into Ascari. A little bit of contact in the bumper to bumper. So he's joined Fabio. He's going to have the slipstream using the lights once again down to the inside of Ascari. Andrea late on the brakes. It's going to be forced a little bit wide from Fabio. Nothing dirty about that. Just some clean racing. Small mistake from Andrea. Fabio's going to retake the lead as we start lap 31 and 32. Fabio again going to take a defensive line, but Andrea's going to dive even more to the inside. Basically going off track. I don't think he's aware that that's off track. But I don't think the game quite cares. Fabio late on the brakes, going to take the outside, a little bit of contact. Rubbing is racing, a little bit of blue paint exchanged for red. Six tenths is the gap. Fabio starting to stretch it out just a little bit, but again, those medium tires gonna be wearing down. But the softs are gonna be just as dead. Andrea once again close into the Lesmos. They're gonna be breaking single file. Andrea not quite confident enough he can get enough room through the first Lesmo or the second. Gonna stay patient, try and get him back down towards turn 8. As you see in the background, Pratama and G battling once again. We're going to stick with our fight for the lead, though. Down into Ascari once again for the penultimate time. Very clean out of turn 10 for Fabio, as well as Andrea. Down towards turn 11. Clean braking. Fabio's going to want to get an amazing run out of this as we start the final lap of this Monza 180 for the International Sim Racing Series. And cross the line to start lap 32 of 32. Drivers getting that final lap warning. And here our virtual live crowd going wild as the two drivers battle this out. Porsche versus Lexus. Our one-off admin and driver Fabio absolutely dominating today's race, but under pressure from one of the faster drivers on the full-time grid. Coming down towards turns 3, 4, 5. Pretty equal for both of the cars through that second chicane. Down into the Lesmos once again, single file. Andrea's still going to be feeling a little bit of that dirty air off of the Porsche. Fabio not going to take much of a defensive line just yet. He's going to go to the ideal racing line, switch back over to a defensive line. Going to take a little bit of the center lane, making sure Andrea has no room to get by. Andrea not quite close enough. We'll see how desperate he is through Ascari into Parabolica. Andrea goes super wide, using as much of the track as he legally can to try and get as close as he can to Fabio. I don't believe it's going to matter. We come down into the final corner. 3 times he was a champion, retired from a full seat, comes back for 1 race, shows why he is a 3-race champion. Fabio's going to come home to cross the line first for the Monza 180. What a race. Andrea right behind G is going to be still ahead of Pratama, finishing out the podium. Pratama finishing in P4. Bernardi by himself. Going to cross the line. P5 in his mark. Deltone going to come home in P6. Not the best of days once again for the Italian for Nexus. Absolutely incredible stuff. Farrell's has a penalty right in front of a lapped car. Nothing going. Farrell's Wimser around Parabolica, as is Crashman. To take P7 on the day. Lap down is Crashman. Rasta out of Ascari down towards Parabolica. It's going to finish P8 on track. We'll see if that sticks with, again, that incident with Snake Plissken earlier in the race. He's going to cross the line to come home in P8. Merrick, first race of the season, come home in P9. Decent results in this grid. Snake Plissken started, I believe, 10th. Is going to come home in 10th after a couple of unfortunate incidents. And then Gabachoy right behind him. Absolutely incredible race today. Fabio from P4 to P1, taking the race win. Absolutely incredible race finish at Monza. Let's take a look at our final classification. Fabio, one time off race, stand-in, admin, and driver today, finishing the race in just under an hour. My goodness. Andrea in his Lexus coming home in P2, 7/10 behind our leader. G, another 9 seconds back, about 8 seconds back, excuse me. First of the LCSR cars, then Pratama right behind, about 4/10. Adam Bernardi finishing by himself, another 9 seconds behind Pratama. Deltone, not the result he was hoping for today. Still okay points for Nexus. They are going to jump ahead of BWT in the team standings. Faraz Rumser, another half a minute back. Rounding out the top 8 first page, BMW M6 driven by Rasta. Second page, we have Marek, first race he has competed in this season. Then we have the American Snake Plissken finishing the race another 11 seconds back. Then the final of the cars on the lead lap is the final Porsche. Gabachoy, his first race of the season as well, 2 seconds behind Snake Plissken. And then our Ferrari 296 driven by Crashman, his first race of the season as well, finishes a lap down. Well, my thanks to all of you for joining. My thanks to our wonderful admin who make this series possible. Thanks to all of our drivers. And once again, thank you to all you for tuning in live or watching the VOD after the race. Incredible race today. Next time out, we will be at... What was it? I forgot already. My goodness. Brands Hatch will be up in the United Kingdom at Brands Hatch for round 5 of the 2026 summer season for the International Sim Racing Series. Till then, my name is Jack Players. I will see you all in the next one.